It's time for another edition of Lewis at Large, 60 minutes of smart talk radio featuring guests from all walks of life in conversation with your host, Warner Lewis. So sit back and lend us your ears for the next hour. Now here with today's first guest is the host of Lewis at Large, Warner Lewis.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck, and of course, that means some smart talk radios in your future, and very excited to have with us today for this particular segment, Sylvia Resnick. Who is Sylvia Resnick? Well, she's the CEO at Sylbar Productions in Orange County, California. But a little bit of background here, and we'll let her expound on this a little bit more. She was a senior associate editor for Rona Barrett's Hollywood magazine several years ago. She is a freelance writer and author, and a brand new work, an interesting one indeed, that has come out recently that we're going to be talking about in addition to Sylvia's career, a brand new work called The Evolution of the Hollywood Heartthrob. It should be an interesting discussion indeed about all things celebrity. Sylvia, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, we're pleased to have you here. If you would, share with our Lewis at Large listeners how you got into the world of entertainment and writing about it, and ultimately finding a space and place at Rona Barrett's production company. Well,
how I got into it was very kind of, coincidental in a way. I had won on a true story contest, and I had an uncle who was a film editor, and he had a cousin who was a wardrobe mistress at MGM, and she had a daughter. This is all very convoluted in a way. She had a daughter who wrote for the fan magazines, and somehow we got together and discussed the fact that I could possibly do this. She gave me a couple of contacts. I contacted the contacts, and I went out on a kind of a speculative assignment, and fortunately my first interview was with Annette Funicello, which was a breeze, and that's how I got started in the writing for fan magazines. That was in 1964.
What was the unique talent, or what was the point of view that you were sort of coached to as far as when you're writing for a fan magazine? What's one of the most important things to always know or remember?
I guess to make yourself friends with the person you're interviewing. That's kind of, even though I was a seasoned writer after a while, I still got excited when I was interviewing certain celebrities. It's just a matter of ingratiating yourself in a nice way with the person you're interviewing, and remembering to ask sensible questions. Sometimes when I watch TV and I hear some of the innocuous questions that are put to celebrities by the interviewers, I cringe. And I'm glad I never did that.
Right. You know, the other thing I wanted to ask you, the Celebrity magazine has kind of gone to the wayside, as so many others have, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your point of view, because of the internet and so many other channels. I'm curious as to, do you believe that the celebrities like the publicity that they get, this kind of publicity that they don't control, more or less than in years past?
I think celebrities are very, very upset about it, although they don't usually show it. I mean, they go through their publicists or their personal managers. The whole thing it's gotten, as far as I'm concerned, in many ways it's gotten kind of sordid because of the topics and the information that's put forward for the reader. We didn't do that in my day. I mean, I sound like an old fogey, but that's the way it was. We had to, most of the time, had to present our copy to not only our editors, but sometimes to the public relations person who handled this particular celebrity. So that meant we couldn't really do anything too salacious, and certainly not anything that wasn't true.
What about, again, this whole thing of sort of overexposure? I would think with social media, some celebrities have to worry about, number one, I don't control the content. I don't control how often it's out there. There's a very, very real risk of, again, people ultimately knowing maybe too much and becoming kind of bored with them as celebrities. Is that not right?
I don't think they become bored because I think people are very, very, well, the only way I can put it is nosy. And they like intrigue, and if they don't get it in copies, they put a twist on it. And I do think celebrities are a little bit anxious and a little bit bored with the content of the copy. I just don't like what's going on today in media, especially the grammar. Let's put it that way. I'm very fanatical about proper grammar, and there's a lot of it that is very distorted today. But the copy itself is, I mean, who needs to know some of the stuff that is being written?
All right,
it's really not, you know.
Well, you're a good example because you were not raised, so to speak, in Hollywood. But why do we care? Why do I care what Angelina Jolie had for breakfast this morning? Why should I care?
Because you're a normal, intelligent person. People who live in a different type of world, who have a secluded type of, a cloistered type of environment and are not sophisticated, not out in the business world, that's what they like to hear. I mean, I don't know if the average person wants to know what Angelina Jolie has for breakfast. Personally, I'm sick of listening and reading about her. Anyway, I like her. She's a good person. Now, she wasn't always, but she's changed her ways. But no, I feel the same way you do. I don't want to know what anybody has for breakfast. I don't care. And personal things are just, to me, they're just not necessary to write about or read about. It's just general psyche of the people, I guess.
Well, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. We're talking to Sylvia Resnick, who many, many years been in Hollywood. She's written for the Rona Barrett magazine, done a lot of her own independent writing, a brand new work called The Evolution of the Hollywood Heartthrob, which we should dive into right now. Talk about when you say the evolution of the Hollywood heartthrob. That's a little bit different take. Tell us a little bit about the motivation for the book and the kind of research you did and why this book now.
Well, a long time ago, actually this book was started many years ago. It evolved in my head first. I was reading things and I was kind of considering all the money that current actors are paid compared to what, even if you do a transfer, what the money was in 1930s, say, equal to what it is today. And I thought that we had so many absolutely brilliant actors who were paid so little and produced and did such wonderful work. And I thought the public ought to know how that has all changed, how it's evolved since the 1930s. And so that was the nucleus of my idea. And I had to do a lot of research. It took me a few years. I had hired researchers who didn't always come through with what I wanted. And then I started doing the research myself. And that's how the book finally got finished.
You had probably unique access to some of these celebrities because of the past associations and writings that you've done. Did that make it easier, or did people, when you were talking to celebrities, did they know you were doing this work, or did they just suddenly appear on the scene?
No, they didn't know, because if I went out to interview a celebrity with a particular angle, and this was something I was just evolving on my own, and I did contact a few PR people, but some of them, even the PR people today, are different. I worked in the past with some wonderful publicity people, and today a lot of them are older, and they've either retired or they've left this world, unfortunately. So there's a whole bevy of new faces, new people, and they're all, most of them are kind of, I don't know, they just don't have it together as far as I'm concerned, as far as their ethics are concerned. Now, there's one person who's really a terrific PR person. I worked with him many years ago, and that's Stan Rosenfeld, who handles George Clooney and a whole group of other very, very famous and strongly admired actors. But most of my other contacts are sort of gone by the wayside. So there has been a unique change, and it's why I don't do that anymore.
Do you? I'm curious as to, again, because of the time that you've been there, you have seen that the movie industry evolve quite a bit, change with the times for better or for worse. Do you think today's celebrities, I don't know how to phrase this exactly, but let's just say appreciate the position that they have of either influence, power, imagined or real, and sort of their responsibility, so to speak?
Yes, I think today's the really top celebrities are very conscientious, and there's more today who are philanthropically involved than we knew of long ago. Many of your major stars contribute and work for groups to make the country and the world better, and that's what I admire very much.
What about, as you were writing this, there are certain things that all reporters and people that are inside the scene, so to speak, like yourself, inside Hollywood, things that are pretty darn sensitive, quite frankly, about people. How do you make that decision of to what is responsible reporting versus having some sense of respect for the privacy of these individuals?
Well, that's it right now, the sense of privacy. I never have, and I never would, and I know a lot of things inside of my head that I wouldn't reveal to anybody, not even my family. I just don't think some things are necessary to put out there. Very private, personal matters that are just indigenous to the individual. So I don't do it, and I never have, and I never will. In my book, I did put some funny things in that could be taken the wrong way, but I think I put them in a way that it was just amusing.
Well, because of your unique access and your long standing out there, share with us, if you would, a couple of your favorite stories from the book, The Evolution of the Hollywood Heartthrob.
Well, one of the things that I was very touched by was that Cary Grant came home from school one day and found his mother gone. He was never given a reason why or where, and he didn't find out until he was, I think, into his 20s that his father had sent her to an asylum. In those days you could do that. A member of the family could commit another member of the family to an institution without anything except, their own reason why. So after Cary found out, he went on a detective kind of a mission, and he found his mother, and he was reunited with her, but he had lost all those years, and that must have had a terrible effect on him. Imagine coming home and finding your mother gone and not knowing why or where she was, and thinking she had abandoned you. I think he came out pretty good for somebody who had that experience.
What about also in terms of access? It used to be, I would think, that let's go back a couple of generations, maybe, or a generation or two, that most of the stars lived in Hollywood or certainly within striking distance. And now it seems like the world is much smaller, and you find a lot of celebrities now not living, so to speak, on campus. They're all around the country, if not all around the world. Does that make your access a little bit more difficult?
No, there's always the telephone. I've interviewed quite a few people on the telephone. There's no problem. And I think that they're very wise to do that because they strive for as much normalcy as they can get. Ron Howard I don't know where he lives now, but I know that he raised his family back east. Alan Alda did as well. And people, they're family people first. Acting is just their work.
What about, again, before a work like this comes out, what kind of responsibility do you feel to share with some of the celebrities you're writing about before it comes out, or do you do that and you just put it out?
Well, right, I didn't share my book with anybody. I just put it out. That was it.
Yeah. What's been the reaction so far, Sylvia? People enjoying it?
Yes, I've had some very nice responses, and the average person enjoys it because it's a peek into lifestyles of their favorites without having to go through an entire book. This is like little mini bio. You've read it, have you not? Or have you looked at it?
Yes, I have, yeah.
So you know that it's just little mini sketches of life, of these various people's men. Actually, they're all men. So I think that's easier to read and easier to digest.
Any particular reason it was all men, or is that just the way it played out?
It was just the way I thought of it. I mean, I've been a Hollywood movie fan from the time I was a very little girl, and of course, the men on the screen were my heroes. So it was personal, really.
What about, so where do you go from here? Again, I know the book was, as you said, something that took quite a while to finish. You were sort of in and out of it quite a bit, doing other work. What are some of the other things that you do, in addition to promoting your book, of course? What else, what other projects are you working on right now?
Well, right now I'm working on a historical erotic romance for a Soul Publishing Company. I signed a contract a few months ago. And so I'm working on that, and I've also got some more Hollywood things in my brain, which I'm not sure I will do, but if I feel that there's an interest in it, I will pursue it. One of the things I've been wanting to write for a long time is about Hollywood's tragic ladies, and about a group of women actresses who died at a very young age, and unfortunately had sad endings, and it sort of went downhill even despite all their fame and fortune. So that's one project I'm thinking of.
Again, we're with Sylvia Resnick, a longtime well-known in Hollywood as a writer and a compiler, so to speak, not necessarily of history, but certainly an archivist of all kinds of things, all things celebrity for sure. Over time, Sylvia, do you think the celebrities of today, and when I say celebrities, we'll limit this just to sort of the Hollywood television and movie crowd, but are they a close-knit group, or are they farther apart and less aware and hang out with each other less, so to speak, than they did years ago?
Well, I think they hang out with each other in groups. There are some very close connections in Hollywood. People have met through making a movie together or maybe being on a show. And I think that there's a lot of there. It's a very close-knit group. I don't care where they live or what they're doing. If anybody in Hollywood has a problem, they rise to the fold. They're there to help them. So it's kind of like a brotherhood, a sisterhood, whatever you want to call family.
Well, talking about snippets, again, this book is loaded with all kinds of fun little anecdotes, little stories that Sylvia has compiled over time. I don't know, you must have thousands of pieces of paper laying around on the desk or inside the computer or somewhere, but it must have,
I did have, yeah.
it must have been quite a labor of love for you to do this.
It was. I found out some very interesting things as I was researching, so it has been fun.
What, again, as you go forward, do you can enjoy, obviously, working with celebrities and writing about it? Have you thought beyond the romance novel or the erotic romance novel you just mentioned, anything else you'd like to do as part of your career?
Well, as I told you, I want to write about Hollywood's tragic ladies, and then somebody suggested that I do an evolution of the Hollywood actor, feminine aspect of the heartthrobs, and that might be an idea.
Boy, there's a lot of them. That is for sure. That's for sure. Do you think that, do the fans have reasonable expectations, you think, of these celebrities? Are they over the top, or what do you think?
They're over the top. Fans do very outrageous things sometimes. They still think that if they like somebody and if they see them on screen, that they're kind of like their property. And as you know, there have been a couple of actresses and actors who have been murdered because somebody took a fatal attraction to somebody and wasn't happy with the outcome. So I think there's too much, it's too out there.
Well, we will always be fascinated what happens in Southern California, and most particularly in Hollywood and Beverly Hills and thereabouts. Probably send that out to Malibu, I would think, I guess, Sylvia. But
oh, definitely, yeah.
The brand new work is called The Evolution of the Hollywood Heartthrob, written by Sylvia Resnick, a longtime Hollywood writer. Drifted to Hollywood like everybody else to seek her fame and fortune, and she has done that. And thank you so much for taking some time with us. We would like to do this. Can you give us a website, or where can people go to find out more about the work that you do, maybe pick up a copy of the book, etc.?
Well, the book can be found on Amazon.com, or you can go to a website for the book is www.hollywoodheartthrobs.us.
Okay, hollywoodheartthrobs.us, okay.
And I have a personal website, sylviasaffronresnick.com.
Well, thank you again for spending part of your day with us. I know you're busy, and again, thanks so much for the book, and again, for your insights. Do appreciate it.
And thank you for the wonderful interview.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.